Hey everybody, it's Dean Jackson. Welcome to the More Cheese Less Whiskers podcast, live from Winter Haven, Florida, and all the way from Australia today at 3 a.m. How dedicated is Kim Baillie? Kim, welcome. I'm excited
Thank you,
to.
Dean. It is quite exciting to be here. I'll be awake for a long time today.
Are you fully caffeinated already? That's what we do.
I am indeed.
Okay, perfect. Well, I am excited because you have a very unique business, floralaronline.com. And
Right.
I'm just fascinated to hear the whole Kim Baillie story and then see where we can apply the 8 profit activators to your business here. I'm curious about how we ended up here, how we ended up connecting and the whole story.
At this point, I came to floral art probably about 15 years ago from a corporate life based on the fact that my parents had a farm and they grew flowers for the cut flower market. And I wanted to do something that was a little bit more artistic than commercial at that point in
Mm.
time. I have a number of other websites, so I've been exposed to Your Thinking and to Joe Polish and to Frank Kern and to Tony Robbins and a whole range of people who have put me on the path
Okay.
of getting things in place.
Yes, yes.
This idea of floral art online came out of the fact that I am the president of the Australian Floral Art Association and now heading up a team that will help host the World Show in 2027.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
I know. It's the first time in its 40-year history that it's been in Australia.
Wow.
So it's a big
I love
task,
that.
and we haven't
I love these things that,
really got a
five
lot of time to
years.
get it organised. Now, 5 years sounds like a lot of time. It's not this kind of activity here. So what I wanted to do in reference to that is get my ducks in a row in terms of my online presence so that I can focus on the other things over the next few years. When I get the weekly email about More Cheese Less Whiskers, I do in a separate business run a weekly podcast myself. So I thought I know what it's like to get,
Yes.
and I know what you need in terms of your listening audience to make it interesting. So I thought, well, why not put my hand up? I'm stuck at a point where it's going okay, it's not as good as it could be. And then since we connected this way for today, I did the Profit Activator scorecard.
Okay, I love that.
And then I looked at the podcast you did end of October that was about the 50-minute marketing sprint.
Oh, yes.
And I think for anyone who's thinking about these areas that you talk about, to do those things together really will open up your eyes
I
to
agree.
what you need to be looking at and where
That's
you need
great.
to be going.
I love it.
So I've got my results here in front of me. I'm ready to.
I love that. I love that. So I'm curious about is it a global business? Are you serving people all over? Because it's an online community, so you've got people from every part of the globe.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a universal thing.
It is a universal activity. It's an activity that up until 2020, like many businesses, was focused on people meeting once a month, 4 times a year, whatever it was. And they would get instruction on, there's a competition and then there's instruction on how they should do these floral designs. So it's basically art with plant material.
Yeah.
Because we can't say art with flowers anymore because not every country has access to fresh flowers.
Okay.
So they use dried flowers, not artificial, but dried flowers or stuff that they've grown in their garden. And what I have found in this country, particularly because of the distances that we face, no different, in Canada, US, well, the US probably not as much because they can get something local. But people can't travel to meetings weekly or monthly, don't want to go to meetings. They're worried about their skill level. They want to learn in their own time.
Yeah.
Then we, of course, had 2020 when they couldn't meet in person. And that meant that I was at the forefront of the online activities that happened around floral art.
Yeah.
Since that time, obviously, a lot of the commercial places, the floristry schools, which I'm not associated with because it's not about commercial floristry, it's about art.
Right.
That the commercial florist, there is a much more larger online presence for those people. So I'm not really competing against them, but I am competing for people's time for other activities that they might be doing.
Well, and I think you're in the right zone. When you start thinking about it, I don't know what it is about us, but we're creative beings, right? We want a creative outlet ever since people were doing cave painting. I imagine that people were organizing flowers and things, all throughout history. And it strikes me that it's, similar in nature to maybe the other things that people do creatively. Like if you look at quilting, or you look at cake design, or you look at scrapbooking, all of those are very, popular creative outlets that are usually done in a social environment, quilting bees and people doing scrapbooking parties and the whole thing. So we crave the community and the creativity. So it's on trend there. How big do you think the community is? How big is the global audience of people who would call themselves, floral art enthusiasts?
Artists, floral art.
Yeah.
It's an interesting question, because in looking at where really is my niche, I had to think about that. And what it came down to was probably 4 separate areas. If I can talk about it in terms of the World Show, which we're hosting in a physical sense, there are 31 countries that belong to that World Association.
Yes.
When we had the World Show in Dublin in 2014, 10,000 people came for the first day.
Wow.
And it goes for 4 days.
Wow.
So they're people who, in my eyes, are interested but are not necessarily involved.
Right.
And so I look at it in those terms. The way I came to looking at the niches after I'd done that 50-minute sprint was that currently the mindset that there was this niche of people who don't want to go to meetings, who want to learn at their own pace. But what I've now come to realise is that there's probably 4 areas, and I need to start focusing on 4 different areas. So there's the people who have never tried it, who don't think they're creative. I hear them at the physical meetings say, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I've got a creative bone in my body.
Right.
There's those who are just starting out at the competition level.
Uh-huh.
There are those who are in the competition level who want to be better.
Uh-huh.
And then there's those who are focused on a world show. So that happens once every 3 years. So they have time in between.
Like the Olympics, or the World Cup,
exactly.
or whatever. Yeah.
We kind of call it the Olympics of flower arranging.
Right, yeah. Okay. Well, that's very interesting. And what do you think is what's the gateway drug into floral arranging? How do people get hooked into it in the first place?
I think for most of the people who are starting out, it's that they see it somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So they might see a flower show, might see a lot of the garden clubs here have a floral art element. So people will go to a garden club because they grow flowers, and then they'll see some designs, or they'll see someone do a design in front of them, or they'll go to a spring show or an open garden or whatever, and they'll see something and they'll say, I wish I could do that. We have a long tradition here of agricultural shows, and every agricultural show in a regional area has a floral art component to it. So it exposes people who might only travel once a year particular show to see it. And that's another area that I should be tapping into.
Well, it's so funny. In Toronto, I was at the Four Seasons in Toronto, and they, as a hotel, really take pride in the floral element there, in the entry and in the lobbies. And I was sitting in the lobby on the couch with my journal, as I often do, and there was an area where people would come kind of around the corner, and they'd come into this space, and there was this, on the table in front of me, amazing display of flowers. And I watched this unfold on a loop, people would come around the corner, a couple, and the lady would look at the flowers and audibly gasp. She'd go, "Oh, look at those flowers." And then she'd look at her husband and she'd go, "Are they real?" And she'd go up and touch them and she'd turn and go, "They're real." And then she'd turn around and snap, take the pictures of them. And you can imagine that they end up on Instagram or on YouTube.
Yep.
And I imagined that there's probably somebody in charge of the floral displays at the Four Seasons who's watching on a hidden camera, waiting, and people come around, and if they don't get the audible gasp, they're like, "Oh, bring out some more flowers until it gets to the room." Yep, we need to change it. And then when they get all the remarkable comments, that they know they're on the right track. So it can change the whole vibe of the thing. Do people that you work with, are they doing it primarily as a hobby for their own personal enjoyment, or are there people who do it as a profession?
That
as a career or as a side hustle or
Most of the people that I deal with, simply because I draw them in by personal contact, are those that I see at competition. Mm-hmm. They might then talk to others who are not involved, or someone who's come to see their work competition, and say, "Well, this is the way you can learn." So I've got a few that have no competition focus, but mostly the current people are competitors who want to improve their skills.
Okay. And do you think that's the sustainable, if you were to say, in the marketing sprint, one of the things we talked about was selecting your single target market and looking at who the most valuable target audience would be for you. Is that how you see it? Or
no, I think having done the sprint, that the entry level, the people who've never done it before, who don't necessarily want to do competition but want to use the flowers out of their garden. Mm-hmm. They treat themselves once a week to buy flowers at the supermarket. They want to know what to do with them. So I've had 2 opt-ins just in the last 5 days that have both been at that level. One said, "I get flowers from the supermarket every week. I don't know what to do with them. I just plonk them in a vase."
Okay.
Plonk is a very Australian term.
Plonk. I plunk them in a vase. Yes. Okay. Uh-huh.
As opposed to the other use of that word is about drinking.
Okay.
We won't go there.
That's
and then the other one was just that she wanted to know everything. Was to know about arranging flowers.
Yeah.
So I do think that's the area that's untapped at the moment.
Okay.
And I also think, having done that marketing sprint, that's the area where I have my superpower.
Okay.
That's the area where I can give people some feedback about what to do.
How many people are in your world right now? Tell me about the business that you're running. How is that going?
So at the moment, the numbers fluctuate. Just under 100 that are they have a membership, and the memberships come in 3 levels. The bottom tier, the entry level, is that they can do one design. We have a monthly competition, so they can submit one design a month for feedback.
Okay.
The next level is 3 designs, and that's the most popular level. And then the top level is 5 designs a month. So for most people, they start at the 1 design a month, get a little bit of confidence, move up to the 3 a month. They won't always submit 3, but they know that they can submit 3. Mm-hmm. And the 5 level are probably more the hardcore competitors like myself who just need to practice and need the feedback.
Yeah. So what?
And it's sustainable for me on my own. I have others that I can call to give the feedback, because that's the most labour intensive part of the process, giving that feedback.
And how much are the memberships?
So in Australian dollars, membership is, the entry level is 97. Then 197, then 297.
Okay, and that's an annual membership. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
And so
in US dollars at the moment, it's probably twice that, because currency is not so good.
Oh boy, yes, exactly. I got it. Yeah, okay. And where are most of your members right now? You have about 100 members, you said, right now? Yeah.
Yeah. Mostly, I would say 60-40 to here to overseas. The overseas ones are based in the subcontinent, so Pakistan, and to a lesser extent India, because they have much more unreliable internet access. So they're not as keen to do it.
Yeah.
Some in the Middle East and some in the West Indies. And the West Indies ones are more about people I've met because we had a world show in Barbados not long ago.
I got you. Okay.
At which time I did pass through Toronto.
Ah, there you go. On your way.
Overnight.
Right.
On my way.
Okay. Yes. That's great. So those, it's the 297 that's the competitors. How would the memberships break down, like in terms of what's the most popular one?
The middle level. The 197.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is, how many people do you think you could accommodate? If you're at 100 right now, what would be your capacity for?
It really, I wouldn't like to limit myself at this point in time because I have got other judges that I can call on to do the feedback.
Yeah.
And I've talked to them about it, and I said, when I'm at a stage where this is cost effective, I will call you in. And they're keen to do it because they have the same sort of mindset, but they don't want to run the business side of things.
Right.
So they're happy to come in as an extra resource.
Right.
So, and that's probably the level that I would like to focus on.
I gotcha.
Because they're the people who have got the most dedication to improving their skills.
Yes.
The ones that are starting out are giving it a go.
Right.
And the ones at the other end are a little bit fickle in that if they don't get the competition results, then they don't want to be a member.
I got it. Right. So this whole middle ground, is there a whole, I noticed I looked briefly at your website and you had the finger things that you can get. Floral art fingers.
I have packets here. Would you like
There we go. Perfect. In Christmas colors. Yes. Do you have an extensive catalog of things that people can buy additionally, or no?
No.
Okay.
No. Only those. And those I chose specifically because they are something that we can all use. I wrote a glue guide as well. So there's a downloadable guide.
What I love about you, I love about the things that you were doing is the language. You just use like real language of what it says, The subtitle on your glue finger book was just great because it's exactly like you would talk to somebody. So very funny. What would it cost somebody to be a floral arranging enthusiast, like an active participant in the thing? What are they spending money on, like, to do it,
Do it. So the series of videos that I've got that I've targeted at this group who are just starting out talks about being able to use things when you first start out that are already around.
Yeah.
Or scissors or secateurs or a knife, and that's about it, really. As you progress, obviously, you get better scissors. So you're probably looking at, I think on the website, I've got some Amazon links to products that I would recommend in terms of the next level of tools that you're using. Right up to, if you wanted a good saw or a good drill, which we do use in those things, then you're going to pay a couple $100. But I think on average, what they'd be looking at is the flowers are more expensive at the moment. So if they're buying flowers, they're probably spending upwards of $20 or $30 a week on the flowers. And in terms of their toolkit, which is a one-off expense, they're probably a good toolkit you can get for around about the 50 mark.
50?
And that'll last you that'll last you for a few years.
Okay. And is there a particular buyer that they get the flowers, or are they getting them locally, or they're...
What I am encouraging people to do at the moment is to buy them from the supermarket. That does mean that sometimes they're only getting a single type of flower, not a mix of bunch, or use stuff from their gardens or their neighbours' gardens, or do what we call wild harvesting, which is you just go out and you
pick your neighbor's flowers, right?
Yeah, I know.
I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
We have another term for it here called roadsidium. So you just pick the things that are on the side of the road.
I got you. Okay, I got you. It might be an interesting thing. What I was looking for is who else is interested in this world, in these people, who is supporting. And right now, somewhere in the world, there are, two other people having a conversation about how are we going to grow my florist business, or whatever the things that would support that, And if you look at the supermarkets, that might be I look at things like, because what you're creating is content that's engaging, that, they're enthusiasts. They're going to be spending $20 a week potentially on the floors that any supermarket would be happy to have them. And I'm thinking about that there could be an opportunity to have a content sponsor, like someone that you could be, because you're obviously passionate about it. You love the idea. You create all the content, that you could be the floral art ambassador for for what is the big supermarket in Australia?
Well, we have Aldi, and we have Woolworths, and we have Coles.
We have Coles. That was the one I was thinking of that I've seen in Manly. But Aldi's we have here too. They're a big international. Yeah. They're a big international. Most people don't realize how big Aldi's is, but they're global. Yeah. I mean, really big.
But they are also quite involved in the local community. And we have a hardware house, I think over there it's called Home Depot, but here it's called Bunnings.
Yeah, right.
And Bunnings is our second home for floral artists, because they have all of the
tools,
the things that you can use.
Okay.
The timber and the metalwork and things that you can make structures out of. So that if you're not using a vase, if you want to display it some other way. And they have to give you the opportunity to come in and do little workshops locally at the Bunnings stores locally. But once again, that's a physical activity. I'm looking at people who might be walking through Bunnings, but they might not. I think the supermarket is probably a better place, because they will go to the supermarket.
Yes, right, exactly. Otherwise, they're going to Bunnings for a purpose, right? You're going to be able to capture the people. And for the florists there, it's a really interesting opportunity. If somebody's going to Aldi's or going to Coles or whatever. So I'm just thinking out loud of stacking my palette here with ideas of what we could potentially use. But all of that's going to it's going to depend on reach, on you on having access to people. So you have 100 members right now. Do you have a list of candidate prospects or people who've opted in some?
People who've opted in.
Okay.
Yeah, I do have people who've opted in, and I do have. It was interesting once again doing the marketing sprint exercise and looking at discovering those 5-star prospects. Because what I actually found after I'd done the sprint was that these people that I responded to more recently, I actually do have a conversation with them. I am filtering them, and I just didn't realize that's what was happening.
There you go. Yeah, good for you. And how many of those do you have? How many people are on your list?
On the list at the moment, there's about 120.
Okay. So almost 120 of those, and then 100 members. So the total reach is about 220?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is something that, how are they finding you right now? How are they getting on your list?
I'd say probably up until about 3 months ago, it was very much about word of mouth, or they had seen me do something, or they had searched on YouTube for how to arrange flowers from the supermarket.
Okay, great. Yeah.
And more recently, I started to realize that they were using YouTube, and I do have a lot of videos up on YouTube, but I started to comment on some other people's videos about what they'd done, but also about where they could get more information. And I did it ethically. I asked the people first if I could mention my site as well on their channels, and that has definitely brought in people who are starting out, who are looking at people who are very skilled, far more skilled than they might ever hope to be, but they're reading the comments as well.
Yeah.
And that made me think it's probably where I've got my most reach is on YouTube or on Pinterest because people put up Pinterest boards about look at these amazing arrangements that I saw at the hotel
right
in Toronto.
Yes, exactly. That happens. And so do you know do you have YouTube subscribers too?
I do, but once again, I have just a single channel, and it's the range of videos that are on that channel from starting out to the competition stuff. So it's a little bit hard to determine who is looking at what.
Do you think, is there an opportunity? So my mind is going that it's a very visual thing, right? You've got, and if I look at it, you've got invisible prospects, because we can't get a list of people who are in their heart, they've always loved the idea of they have an idea of, I would love to be able to do that. That, you know, it's something that you can, it's very visual. It's not an intellectual so much pursuit as, you know, you're going to actually do it. It's not just information that you're gathering. The only reason you're getting the information is to encourage you to want to actually try it yourself, right? And so I wonder if my mind is kind of going to you doing seasonal things. Like if you were to say, okay, we're coming up to Thanksgiving here in the US, we're coming to Christmas coming up, that I wonder if there's a way of, if people, the gateway to them wanting to do it would be to see you arranging supermarket flowers in a Christmas kind of way, that, you know, how to set things up, and just showing people how much fun it is and how beautiful what you create. There's probably lots of different options there, but showing people what to do, and then maybe having a, I don't know whether, you know, I'm thinking about like in quilting, you'd have a pattern, and in, you know, baking, you'd have a recipe, and in scrapbooking, you'd have a formula or have the things. What do you call an instruction sheet, or what would somebody use to be able to do that?
It has a very glamorous name. It's called step-by-step instructions.
I love it. So there it is. So I think that's really the opportunities. I think having a video like that demonstrates that you're putting it together, you're narrating it, you're very pleasant. I think you could be a great spokesperson for the thing. You seem very comfortable doing that and being the face of it. So having that, you know, putting it together and offering if you'd like step-by-step instructions on how to do this, just click right here and download the step-by-step instructions for this, whatever it is. That I bet that would be a really nice way to, you know, kind of target specific people to kind of build your audience.
I think it's perfect, because one of the barriers that people put up is that they stop themselves doing it because they give themselves reasons not to.
Right.
And so they'll say, oh, well, you know, it's just something I'll do when I've got time. Or they'll say, well, I've got this party coming up, and I'm supposed to be doing something for the table or where all the food is, so I better look up how to do it. And I think that's an area that I can pursue quite easily, because there are so many things that you can do around those special times. And different cultures, different times of the year. So
that's exactly it. That it's constantly, you know, every few weeks there's something new coming up that would be that you could interpret and create the thing and get somebody excited enough to think, I'm going to do that.
Give it a try.
Yeah. And I think that building you as the ambassador of this, or the spokesperson for the community, I think that's a great, I think that would be a fun thing for you, you know, seeing that reach, seeing the people. And if you could get to a point, you have to see what it would cost to turn an invisible prospect into a visible prospect, whether you could, because what's going to drive that, of course, is being able to invest money to create a vending machine, we call it, where if we could put on the cover that ultimately what you're looking for are people in that middle range who can join your $197 membership, and that we can acquire the names of people, build your email list, and get people on board that way. And it may be a way that, it might be a really interesting thing if, does Aldi's in Australia have like a floral section, a little where they have all the flowers and stuff like that? I can imagine there was when Snapple, do you have Snapple in Australia, the iced tea beverage?
Not as widely
fruit
available.
Flavored, they're fruit flavored iced teas. And I love the story when they launched their mango flavor of iced tea. They contracted with the Mango Growers Association to put stickers on 10 million mangoes that said, now available in Snapple. And I can imagine if in the floral section of Aldi's, there's a card or a postcard or a tall type of thing showing instructions on how to create this Christmas wreath or this thing, where they can scan the QR code and get taken right to a video where you're showing how to turn the things that you can get right there in Aldi's into these amazing things. I think there's a great opportunity for maybe a partnership there with Aldi's.
And as you're saying it, I'm thinking, well, that I can probably more easily get to the growers.
Okay.
And when they have the plastic sleeve that goes over the flowers that are going to the supermarkets, have a sticker on that says does the same thing.
Exactly. So that wherever...
if I throw myself out in the really huge terms and go to Aldi and say, you put a catalogue out every week, and part of it is, here's the list of recipes that you go to the website to get, and so partner with them in terms of the website or the catalogue and say, want to use the flowers that you're buying at Aldi, here's how you can.
I think that might be a good, just looking and going to the source where the people who are going to be inclined to try Snapple mango are people who are already attracted to mangoes. It's right there, right? And so the people who might enjoy floral arranging are people who are already attracted to flowers. They're already buying the flowers. Wouldn't it be nice if we could arrange the flowers nicely rather than just plunk them in a vase, as you said,
And so in that sense, it's going to the garden centers and the plant nurseries and those sorts of places where they're buying
everywhere
the ready-made plants to go into the garden.
Now, the other thing that you can do, we were just having this conversation about the studio where I am here right now. We were talking about one of the things you can do on Facebook and Instagram is you can ring fence specific locations. So you could ring fence Aldi's, for instance, and only show ads to people who are in Aldi's or garden centers. Anybody who's in those things, you could show the ad specifically. It would be the equivalent of putting your sticker on the mangoes to do that. But I think it's what you have is art, very similar to music, is you're not trying, nobody sells music. Music isn't sold. Music is discovered. And it either speaks to you or it doesn't. And you like it and you want to hear it again or you don't. It's not, no amount of convincing is going to get somebody to do it. So I believe that art is like that. You've often heard that art finds you. You don't find the art. Art speaks to you. Art picks you. And I think that this could be true for floral arranging, that people could find their, passion by being exposed to it They might not ever see anybody arranging flowers and think about that. I've never seen it on my, like I look at on my news feed or on my things, and it's so...
I've got 54 videos out there, Dean Jackson. Why haven't you looked
I
at
haven't been exposed to them. That's exactly right. But I think, you come through, I look at your iPhone as like the digital, your digital mailbox kind of thing, the scroll. Yep. And I look at those as little digital postcards. That's essentially what you're doing. So imagine if every time somebody goes to a garden center in Australia, and I think there's a lot to be said for just, first of all, focusing right in your backyard, in getting all the people who are, rather than trying to, get to all the people in the world, let's think in New South Wales initially, and think that way, that you can figure out the metrics and how to reach them and how deep perhaps the audience is, how much it costs to get in front of them, and how much it costs ultimately to build your list. Because I'd love to see how it plays out in your business if you had 1,000 people on your list, on your email list, and what that could look like for you. And I think the way to do that is to expose it to 10,000 people and find the 1 in 10 who are attracted, enough.
The beauty of where I am now, that it is a regional area. And so it probably encompasses the range of people that I would like to have that exposure to find the ones who are interested. And that then gives me framework that I can there
you go. Yeah.
And I could adjust to other regional areas because it's probably in the back of my mind. I feel like it's the regional areas that are underserved.
Agreed.
In terms of what they can do. And they're the ones who are probably the most eager markets that I can access at the moment.
I love that kind of thinking then, and you're at the stage where it's it's a great opportunity, I think, to get your stuff out there. And so, I would start to make a list of the holiday things or the occasions that somebody might like to do some floral. And Christmas seems like it just makes so much sense. And maybe you give all the ideas, like just brainstorm and narrow your focus to what that would look like. Just how could you, for Christmas, there's wreaths and mistletoe and table settings and maybe gifts giving to people. So there's lots of opportunities to create that kind of content, but the ability to kind of just bump the content with a little bit of paid access to the right people. And if we were to say that if we create a band in how big geographically would the region be, would you say? How many, if we were to say?
Well, when we were in lockdown and we were only allowed to travel 100 kilometres within the local government area, we didn't have any trouble.
So 100,
so it's that sort of
100 kilometers, let's say. Then if we were to narrow it down, like if we're kind of stacking the deck, who could we eliminate out of the way? Certainly, mostly women? Can we eliminate?
It's probably about 70-30.
Okay. So be older gentlemen or younger? What would be, I'm trying to build, and we could test.
Yeah. If I look at my stats, I was surprised that it was younger men. It was men between 30 and 40 of the males that follow Facebook page. The men were in that 30 to 40 age group. The women were 50 to 50 plus.
Okay, 50 plus. 50 to 150. And suitable for everyone, right? That I think that the great thing about Facebook and Instagram like that, and YouTube, is that you can target very specifically an audience, and you can shape your content to match that audience too. If you take that the primary thing would be, if the primary audience, if you were just, you've got to pick one, it would probably be that the women 50 to 150 in 100-mile, 100-kilometer radius. So that helps us right now. I always think about visualizing these things. So we're going to, draw a circle of 100 kilometers there, and we're going to narrow the audience to all the women who are 50 to 150. Is there anything else that they're already doing, or that are parallel, or that are commonalities of the people that are there? Like, I think if you take, I think even these geographic things of taking all the garden centers and ring fencing the garden centers and only showing the ads to 50 plus women who are at the garden center. That's the mango. That's the sticker on the mango kind of digital equivalent,
Yeah. But I guess the honest answer is I don't know.
Okay.
If I look at the people that I've got at the moment, their interests than the floral art side of things are probably the garden club. Mm-hmm. They're not so much into the social stuff. The basis of them being part of this community is that they don't want to go to monthly meetings. They don't want to be committed to those sorts of things. So there's not a whole lot of information that I've gathered about what else they do, other than look after the grandchildren or, have the family return home.
So that's there's an interesting thing is there, by audience, if you're building, are there certain things that they would like on Facebook that they would be, a supporter of, kind of thing? That would be really interesting.
They're probably not I would say in general, a Facebook group. They're more YouTube.
Okay.
Because they're looking for that visual instruction.
Yes. Okay, perfect. And there's so that same kind of thing on the YouTube ones, you can target specifically people who are searching for on Google what those, what the search terms are. So you've got that chance to show up for them. But I think that would be a really good, if it doesn't work at Christmas, it's, that would be probably a greater hit than Arbor Day, for instance. More people like visually celebrating Christmas. So I think you're right in the heart of the opportunity time for this.
Most definitely. Yeah, I love that. I love the seasonal idea, because there's just so many things that can be done. Probably the thing that holds me back is that I don't give myself permission to do the video. I'll think, oh no, I've got to manage this. I've got to do this. I've got to write this.
There
content.
Can't be there can't be anything more valuable than that for you. When you look at that, if we fast forward this, I would see that you're just the lead enthusiast for this, and you spend your days just doing it, documenting it. Do you have a place where you already film videos and stuff, so you've got the capability to do it? And I think just getting it
only while the specialist car is in the garage.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. But that's, the fun thing is that you've got the opportunity on Facebook to just target all the women over 50 on Facebook. And that might be enough to show it to all of them, put up that video, and you can monitor how many people are watching the video, and you can build a custom audience of people who watch 50% or more of your video and show. So now it becomes less that you're building this audience of people who are kind of taking a step forward, right? Like they're people who just keep scrolling, that it doesn't catch their attention at all. That's, you can eliminate those people and focus on the people who have a little bit of interest. If you do a 3 or 4 minute video or even longer you could do, and just focus on it'll show you people who watch 50%, who watch 75, who watch 100% of it.
Yeah.
And I think that might be a really great way to kind of introduce yourself to that audience. And it's so inexpensive. I mean, you can get in front of those people for, 2 or 3 cents per, exposure to them. And so if we could get, a couple out of 100 to opt in, you get these for $1 kind of thing,
It's a great place to
absolutely.
Start. Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited about that as a nice viable place to start. Do you know how to run the Facebook ads and how to do?
I have used it a long time ago, other business, and it's something that I'd have to revisit, obviously. But it's, I guess I hesitate about it because I didn't have success last time with Facebook advertising. And
what were you advertising? So walk me through that, because that's an interesting thing.
So I had a physical store that was about lollies, so candy.
Okay.
It was very specialized, and I had a lot of nostalgic retro lollies and chocolates that were important to my generation who were growing up. And I had a pack that was called the retro pack, something like that. And it had things that were recognizable that people who were coming physically into the shop were looking for. We're talking probably now 10 years ago. So it was early time for people to be advertising and using Facebook in that way. And I thought I had picked the audience for the ad, but maybe that wasn't right, but I just didn't get the return out of the ad.
And you were trying to sell these through the ad, or So
I was convincing them.
Exactly.
Them.
That's it.
I know.
So you didn't do the free lolly ad. No. Free lolly for everyone, right? Put it in an envelope and send them one. That would have been a great thing to build a list of lolly lovers. That's part of the thing, And I've mentioned on the podcast, using gift cards as a great way to reach those people. But I think that this idea of showing what you do and offering people the opportunity to download the step-by-step instructions, I think that's probably the best bet, is to kind of get people excited about, oh, that's beautiful. Like, you start with the hero, you start with it and show the thing. Today I'm going to show you how to build this beautiful wreath for your front door. And then go into so they see what it looks like they start with the end, and then I'm going to show you step by step. And if you want to download the instructions, it's right there. And that way they get used to, I think you can become a little, we can make you 100-kilometer famous among 50-plus-year-old flower enthusiasts. I think that's a great thing. It's a great opportunity.
I think I'm really comfortable with that idea. I think it's just going to have a whole different approach. It's about having, in fact, we can call it the recipe. It's the recipe for making this.
That's it.
It's because using terms that age group are comfortable with will help engage them as well. So rather than say this, step-by-step instructions is a term that if you're already doing it, you understand. If I use the recipe word, that's something that everyone's going to understand, that is in that potential market.
So I think I think you've really got something here. I think it's a viable thing. I think people are really there. And what I would look at is, for the long-term, like, viability of it, is to, start it. There may be things that you can create. You've got to have other things that you can offer to people. You've got to have other ways of making money from this too, whether you can do, online, like Zoom apps or advising or something like that. Or, if you create a merchandise line of, if you create some kind of, like, what would floral art enthusiasts be, what would be the t-shirt slogan they would have, and what would be the you know what I mean? That's
Yes, I do.
that's
Yes.
kind of the great thing. And
Yeah. So one of the things when I first started, one of the things I did was offer a pack to people when they took up the membership. And so they got an apron that you can fit all your tools in, and a towel, and a host of other little things. And like anything, when we think we're getting something for free, well, then we'll go. So that was a good way. And those people who were my foundation members get something every year that is just a little thing that they can use.
Perfect.
But the Floral Art Fingers, the thing of the bluing, was my first foray into having something that was merchandise within that field. So.
I love it. Well, it's been a delight. I've really enjoyed our conversation. It's gone quickly, but
it has. Indeed.
Yeah. So you feel good about the path there? Was there anything?
I do. I'm really happy with seasonal idea. I think that's something that I can grow, and I can see the potential for it, and I can see the potential not just in terms of the content, but the ways that I can use the content of throwing that ring around locally, geographically, looking at the partnerships that I might be able to find within that local area, first of all. Other thing that came to mind when I did the marketing sprint was about the book.
Yes.
Having the book, because I'd already done the glue guide. I thought, well, I don't have anything that people can just download if they are more of not a visual learner, if they want to read something rather than look at something. And so I just wanted to mention it so that people who are listening will understand the value of doing that sprint, because ideas come out of it for me that I would never have thought of. So the book titles, I did my little
okay. I love it. This is great. Yes.
And so the book title that I came up with was using the solution word. So it's the solution to arranging supermarket flowers.
Okay. Supermarket flower solution. Right. I like this.
Yeah. So, and there were a couple of others, that I tried out. The one that I probably found the most comfortable. So just as an exercise, I thought it was a really good way for me to focus on what is it that I think I can do for this target market. Who are they? And then just, concentrate on that. Just put all the other stuff out of the way. Get the noise away.
Yes, I love that. And I think that that's a real viable thing that's happening every single day. People are leaving the supermarket with flowers and are ready to be there. I think, it'd be really interesting to just even do, because whatever's happening in one Aldi's is happening in all the Aldi's, right? And it would be a fun thing to just set up shop on a Saturday morning, just kind of watching who's coming out, who's, just observing the flower department and see.
Well, I guess I probably do that instinctively because when I go in, locally, they're right at the front door. So when I go in, as I go in through the doors, I'll look at the people who are looking at the flowers and they'll think, you're looking at those because you don't know what to do with them. I could help you, but I can't go up to you and say, I know, I can tell you what to do with these. So I actually do that observation instinctively and just don't do anything with the information that I'm getting.
I think that would be such a fun thing, setting up even just some in-store little, postcard or something that's in that area with a picture of a wreath that, like, if part of the thing, I think you want to start, how they say dress for the job you want. That's, if you're looking to get a promotion, start dressing for the job that you want. Well, I wonder about living into this role of, I've got this vision of setting you up as the Aldi's floral arranging ambassador globally, in conjunction with, because it's going to be in 3 years, 5 years coming to
the World Show.
Coming to the World Show to build. Imagine how big could your audience be in the thing that I think we could build you into a floral celebrity, of having all this stuff. So it would almost be like living into the role. And I would say these things like, what would I do? What would I do if I were you? If Aldi's had hired you to be the global floral ambassador. But you'd start right there in New South Wales, right in at your local Aldi's, kind of thinking, acting like, what would you do if they were paying you to advance floral arranging and they've got the raw materials? Because they're going to win out of all. So that's $1,000 a year somebody's spending. If they're spending $20 a week on flowers, which is reasonable for people to do, it's a luxury, a nice, an affordable nicety of being at home, and gives you some way there. I would start thinking, like, even in your videos before they're paying you to do it, to talk about, like, maybe have the video start at Aldi's, or you start with the finished thing, and then you go and show, now when you're here, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking for. Let's look at what they've got, and we're going to turn it into an amazing Christmas arrangement. So, okay, now we've got our thing. I'll meet you back at the studio. And then you go back, and then you start building out the things and say, don't need to fast say it. I've got everything for you right here, the complete instructions for this one. And then we could create that book for you, the workbook, as something that you could either sell or give to somebody as becoming a member, you know? Yeah. I like it. I got big visions for you.
So much to do.
Yes, I love it. I love that. Well, it's been a delight. You're delightful. I loved having this conversation. I love appreciate your enthusiasm. And I think you're right about, we've had a lot of feedback about the 15-minute marketing sprint video, because it's really, I think, cues people's minds as to what's possible for them.
It does. It does indeed. And I thank you for making it available and the time on the podcast today. It has been
awesome.
Very exciting.
Well, we're going to meet when I'm coming back to Australia at some point. I used to come every year to Australia. So I'll look forward to meeting one day when I come back to New South Wales.
And then you'll be learning how to do your flowers for whatever event is coming up.
That's exactly right. I love it. Thanks so much, Kim.
All right.
Okay. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.